All right. Thank you very, very much. So, as excited as I am to be here with you and to see you here, it's important to remember what today is. Today, 9/11 turns Chai, and that's pretty incredible to think about in terms of the ramifications on an individual level, on a societal level, on a geopolitical level. Just they're staggering, and obviously it deserves its own hour to talk about, and that's beyond the purview of what we're going to discuss today. But I would like to dedicate today's shiur in memory of all of the people who lost their lives 18 years ago today. So the topic of tonight's talk is how high are your holidays? The implication, of course, is that not very. So I would like to share with you what my experience has been, and I don't just mean my personal experience, but the experience that I tend to hear from other people when we discuss what they experience on the high holidays. So it generally goes something like this. You go to shul, because it's Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. I mean, like, everybody's in shul on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Even if those are the only days that you're in shul on those days. And it might be boring, but at least it's long. And you go to the shul, and there are prayers in tunes you don't know, but at least you don't understand the words. So you open up the Siddur, and you say, hey, well, maybe I'll read from the English, because the English can be very helpful if you don't read Hebrew fluently. By the way, I read Hebrew fluently, and I don't understand most of the words in these supplications. But just, for example, from Erev Rosh Hashanah, listen, please, my masters. Any prohibition that I adopted by use of the slang term konam or term cherem that I vowed or swore while I was awake or in a dream, or that I swore by God's holy name that is forbidden to erase, or any form of Nazarism, or any prohibition. I mean, it's English, but sort of, right? Like, it's not very helpful English. So maybe we'll go to, like, the sins that you say, because it's fun. On Rosh Hashanah, you get to count everybody's sins. It's like your favorite part. And you figure, oh, I did that one, I didn't do that one. And that's a little bit more relevant because, after all, we sin. You sin, I sin, we all sin. Okay. The sin that we sin before you in immorality, I get that. Harsh speech, I get that. That's good. How about this one? For the sin that we have sinned before you by causing subservience through bribery. What? How about the sin that I did for you by humiliating elders? Do you have elders? I mean, do you live in like a Jedi fortress where there's a group of elders that sometimes you speak harshly about? It's not very relevant. And then, and this is my favorite part, the rabbi gets up. The rabbi gets up. And he has beard. And he steps up onto the pulpit. And he swishes his tallis around a little bit. He looks very somber. He looks very solemn. And he talks. And he talks. And he talks. And he keeps talking. And just when you think he's about to be finished, he asks you for money. And you wonder, why don't people love coming to shul on Rosh Hashanah? What could be more fun than this? Now, you realize that if that's the only time you come to shul, and that's the sort of experience you have when you're in the shul, you can rest assured you're not going to see me for the rest of the year. It's awful. It's awful. Then you get home. Now, home is good. Home is great. Home is great. You got the family there. You got food. And now you're going to do things that matter a lot, and they're very, very meaningful, because after all, it's Rosh Hashanah. So you're going to have fish. I did you the honor of drawing you some fish, so you know what fish means. You have a fish, but you don't eat the tail of the fish, because that would be bad. You don't eat fish tails. If you eat fish tails, you're not going to have a good year. Everybody knows this. If you eat the tail of the fish, you have a bad year. But if you eat the head of the fish, I ate the head of the fish, I'm going to have a magical good year because I ate the head of a fish. And then I'm going to take an apple, and I'm going to stick it in sugar. I mean, it's honey, but it's like, sugar. And I'm going to eat that, and then I'm going to have a great year. Because apples and honey. Who doesn't love apples and honey? Then you start with the carrots. You ever do the simanim? It's great. You got to check it out. In the inside of your siddur, you can look at all the different magical foods that you can be eating on Rosh Hashanah to bless you with a good year. And you say, well, leeks. Leeks. I'm going to eat leeks. You don't eat leeks the whole year. Publix does not carry pomegranates. Do you know why Publix doesn't carry pomegranates? Because nobody eats pomegranates. They have pineapples. They got pineapples. You know, like pineapple? People like pineapples. Rosh Hashanah, they got pomegranates. $18 a pomegranate. Because they know they got you. They got you by the payas. And you know that a pomegranate has many seeds. So obviously, if you eat a fruit with many seeds, you will have many merits. Wonderful. Does that make sense to you? Like, is this very, very meaningful to you? It's awful. It's awful. It's abysmal. And so why do you even go to shul? Like, if it sucks so much, why do you go? You wouldn't consider not going. It wouldn't occur to you not to. I'm not going to go to shul on Rosh Hashanah? What do you mean I'm not going to go to shul? I'm Jewish. I'm Jewish. Of course I'm going to go to shul. Do you like it? No, I hate it. But of course I'm going to go. Why? That's a big piece of my identity. It's a big piece of my identity. It's who I am. So I'm going to go. I'm going to hate every minute of it. I'm going to pay my bill, and I'll see you next year. And that's my Judaism. Rah, rah. We're very, very proud to be Jewish. What I find a lot less of is how inspired are we to be Jewish? How excited are we to be Jewish? Wah, wah. You know, not very. Like, what I mean by pride, if you go over to the average Jew, I don't mean like some big rabbi guy. You go over to the average Jew, like, hey man, give up your Judaism or I'm going to kill you. Like, right here, buddy. Right here, man. Come on. Bring it. Kill me. They say, oh, cool. We need you for a minion. I said, dude, I got to go. I was like, I really got to, I can't. We'll die Jewish. We don't want to live Jewish. We're not inspired at all. We're not. And we know it. So you start thinking to yourself, well, I mean, it's not my fault. The shul that I go to does not inspire me. It doesn't inspire. They have failed me. My institutions have failed me. They failed you. Now, it gets worse. Of course it gets worse. The truth is that it's not just your institutions that failed you. Your parents failed you. I'm going to pay heavy for this tomorrow. But it's true. How do I know it's true? Because when you left their house, you weren't excited about Jewish back then either. It's not like you were totally pumped and totally inspired and floating on cloud nine, and all of a sudden you're 45 and you go to the local shul and you lose all of your excitement for it. No, you weren't excited when you were 18. You weren't excited when you were 18. When's the last time that you thought to yourself, you walked out the door and said, I'm going to do something really Jewish today? Never. Never. You didn't have that. No one's ever had that. How would you feel if some person, a member of your family, walks into the house and says, okay guys, I got a great idea. We're going to do something that's like a little bit more religious than we're used to. We're going to do something more religious. Well, first, you take his temperature to make sure he's okay. Then, if he is in fact feeling okay, you say, why? Why? You're met with an eye roll. I know this because everyone always assumes that I'm the religious guy. So I get the eye roll all the time. I'm well acquainted with the eye roll. I get the eye roll. But if our institutions are failing us, and our parents failed us, you know, we're failing our kids too, in the same way. Our kids are not inspired. That doesn't mean that you can't find a kid who is. Doesn't mean you can't find an adult who is. But on a national level, I mean, if you look at who we are as a people and how we feel as a people, and you take the pulse a little bit, it's the truth. So I was thinking about that. Don't you love thinking about the holidays? It's awful. I was thinking about this, and I'm like, you know, I think all that is wrong. And I want to try a thought experiment with you. And I think that the difference between where we are now and where we could be is like that far. It's literally that far. It's so easy to be where we need to be, and we just need to adjust the way that we look at things. So, if you'll kindly travel with me to my board, here's the thought experiment that I would like to share with you. I think that many people look at this earth and look at this life as sort of a theme park. So here you have the world that you live in, the world that you occupy, and you get about 90 years, if you're lucky, give or take, you get about 90 years to traverse the theme park. It's this gigantic Disney World. And so some rides you like more, some rides you like less, some people you like hanging with or not, sometimes it rains on you. But this is basically the board, and you have 90 years to exist on this board. That's one way of looking at it. I would like to look at it very, very differently. It's not that you're living in a theme park for 90 years. You're living in 90 years. You're living in time, not in space. I mean, you live in space too, but space is incidental. You're traveling through time. So essentially, a timeline is not a line. A timeline is, whatever that is. Rosh Hashanah every year is the same. Pesach every year is the same. You get 90 blocks of time, and you travel through that time, and that's your life. You say, well, where were you? I don't know, a bunch of different places. I was in the North Pole, and I was in Chicago, and I was in Australia, and I was in Miami. It doesn't matter. That's anecdotal. You travel through time, and what's your product? What do you change? You. You are the product. You are the product. And you have 90 blocks of time to develop yourself. And then you're off the board. Now, how do we say year in Hebrew? Shana. It's right there. Put it on the board. It's right there. Shana. But you know what's interesting? So Shana means year. Everybody knows Shana. You went to Scheck Hillel. You learned. You know Shana means year. But it doesn't only mean year, does it? It doesn't only mean year. Because I even played around with the Nikudos over here. Yeah, what's Mishnah? Mishaneh. Mishaneh is to change. Mishnah is to learn. Lishanot is to repeat. So I don't understand. You're messing with my head. Are you telling me that a year means a year? Or does it mean repeat? Or does it mean change? Or does it mean learn? And the answer is yes. Yes. It means yes. It means all of those things. Because it's the same thing, you see. You have a year, one cycle, one block. And then you repeat the block. You repeat the block. So it's called a year, but it's also called to change. Because every time you repeat the block, it's different than the time before and the time after. And it's called to learn, because you're supposed to be going through the block, developing yourself. But we don't. We don't. How do I know we don't? Super simple. How are you different than you were 3 years ago? Articulate it. Articulate it in your own mind in 2 sentences. How are you different than you were 3 years ago? And then when you're finished thinking about that and not coming up with anything, think about how you're going to be different 3 years from now. I'll be fatter and bolder. I don't know. Those are the only 2 things I can guarantee you. I don't want to change. I mean, I'm good. I'm fine. I don't need change. This is fine. Now, so we're very blessed, thank God, and we have big kids and we have a baby. And having a baby has blown the doors off of this. My mind is just totally different now. Because you see how growth happens on a totally different scale. Massive growth, and you see it all the time. And then you look at your older kids in a different way, and you start seeing the changes and the development that they're going through. Not just physically, but from character and their development as human beings. And then I'm very lucky also and very blessed in that I get to chill with the alumni. So I hang out with the students, and I hang out with the alumni, and I hang out with the parents, and I see development. I see development. You talk to a kid who's 1 year out of high school, right? He's midway through his or her first year in college. It's a different thing, man. It's a different thing. And then you see them when they get a job or when they get a serious, really serious relationship. It's different. There's character development. And then you're 35 and you're like, finito. I'm good. No, you're not. You're not good. You're the opposite of good. Why do you think you're good? See, because I'm good enough. Why am I good enough? Because I'm traveling through a theme park, and all I need to get through the theme park is a little money so I can get the cool tchotchkes that I want and the food when I want to go and get on the rides. So once I hit that level, I'm good. I can relax in the lazy river. But that's not the game. That's not the game. The product is you. You're supposed to change. Like Frank Underwood says, to grow is to change. Now tell me something. What is your capacity for growth? Infinity. So instead of thinking about it, people are like, well, I thought about it, and I think there's a few things that I don't do right. That's true. There are things you don't do right. Here's the other thing. There's nothing that you do right. Nothing that you do cannot be unimproved. Nothing. Everything you do could be better. That's why I have the little infinity upscale. You can continuously get better all the time through every single year. But that's a change. So why aren't we changing? And how would I change? I mean, even if I wanted to, it's really hard to do. Well, if it's as we're saying, that you move through time, you exist in time, then that means that every single holiday that you have in Judaism, it's not what you think. It's like, oh, well, something happened, so we're going to celebrate it. I talk about this all the time in the holidays. If you've heard me say this before, I apologize. You're going to hear me say it again. Jewish holidays are not commemorations of past events. It's just not. It's not. If you travel through time, that means time has a personality. Time has real experience. Holidays are encounters in time. So there's a piece of time that manifests a universal concept that you have to experience. For example, freedom. If you don't experience freedom, and when I say you, I mean you the individual, as well as you the community, you the nation. If you do not experience freedom intensely, then you will lose your freedom because you won't know what freedom means anymore. If you don't believe me, read a newspaper. If you don't experience freedom, deeply what it is to be free, you won't be free. That's Pesach. You encounter the idea of freedom. Does that mean you can't be free on Hanukkah? Of course you could be free on Hanukkah. Of course there are other times in the year that you can feel free. But Pesach is the time that character trait manifests itself. Sukkot is happiness. So you're supposed to experience happiness on Sukkot. Well, does that mean, let me ask you, wow, mind blown. Does that mean, yeah, right. Okay, guys, just hold up. I want to catch them up to speed. No, does this mean that if you go to Pesach Seder, and you have no idea what it's about, and you sit down and you eat that awful cardboard cracker, and you sit for hours listening to some story, that you will feel freedom automatically? No. Why would that happen automatically? To expect that to happen automatically is quite silly. Quite silly. It will never happen automatically. I mean, once in a whatever, I'm not a statistician, but once in X number of Passover experiences, someone will accidentally experience and encounter freedom. You know what's far more likely? The Torah is telling you, go experience freedom. And then you try to experience it. So the mitzvot on the holidays, they're not magic points, okay? They're not magic points. They're signs on a road that take you to the encounter of the experience that you're supposed to be manifesting now. That's why they're so important. Because if you don't do them, then you won't feel that idea. And humans need these ideas. They need it through their process. You never find it accidentally. Well, now let's talk for a moment about inspiration. What's inspiration? Inspiration is, I'm walking, and then all of a sudden, boom, epiphany, I get hit by a train. God sent me this magical inspiration into my brain, and now I'm going to change my life forever. That's about as likely as accidentally stepping upon and revealing freedom. You're not going to do it accidentally. You get inspired accidentally? How often do you get inspired? Probably very seldom. Because again, why are you expecting it to happen? Things don't happen by accident. What if you're looking for it? You will see it all the time. If you're actually seeking inspiration, you will get inspired constantly. We'll talk about that, how one does that, or how one could perhaps do that. Well, if that's true, and these encounters are happening, and we're traveling through these cycles, what's Rosh Hashanah about? It's not about freedom, and it's not about happiness, so what's Rosh Hashanah? You know what Rosh Hashanah is? Din. You know what din means? Judgment. Judgment. Now, it doesn't mean judgment as in a verdict. It means definition. What are you? What are you? Now, I'll come back to this in a moment because this is a very depressing thought. It's highly empowering, but it's also, it's a little scary. So Rosh Hashanah, say to yourself, well, 1 minute, it's the beginning of the year, the repeat, the new, the learn. How can that possibly be meaningful to me? Well, I would suggest that you need to take 10 minutes. I can't afford to take 10 minutes. You can't afford not to take 10 minutes. If you take 10 minutes, you sit yourself in a room by yourself, and you close your eyes, and you think, I'll give you some easy ones. Think about your buttons. You know what I'm talking about. Think about your buttons. Yeah? Your buttons are the things that happen all the time, but you don't notice them. You know why you don't notice them? Because you're not looking for them. Let's talk about what your buttons might be. Say, what are the times, you know, if you have a great marriage, then you know that sometimes you bicker. Sometimes you fight. If you think about it, I think you'll find that all the times you fight, they're usually triggered by the same two things. Ever wonder about that? What's my trigger? What's my button? What makes me get upset? Is it money? Is it sex? Is it in-laws? Is it the kids? Is it the sports game? Is it my job? Is it the stress of my boss? What is it? What makes me get impatient with my kids? I never get impatient. You do. You do. And in fact, if you have more than one kid, it's not the same thing. This makes you get pissed off at this one, and that flips it with that one. How long do you think it will take you to realize what your buttons are? 42 seconds? Probably not that long. 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Change your world in 10 minutes. Change your world. Now here's the best part. You know what's so funny about this? Like, but there's no solutions to my buttons. I can't, it's impossible, I can't get out of it. Here's the best part. It's magic and it works. You know how to fix the buttons? It's the simplest thing in the world. It takes a long time, but it's very simple. Just be aware of it. Awareness is the derech. It is the way to fixing it. So if you know that every time you get into traffic, you're a different person. I know this because that one's me. I mean, not that the other ones aren't me, but this one's like me. Yeah. That's why we don't drive together. I understand. So, right, you're in traffic. You can be the most relaxed person. Like, oh yeah, Sprung, easygoing guy. Love that guy. You see me on the road, I'm a monster. Seriously, I-95? I don't know. I turned into Stalin. Everyone out of the way. Like, it's terrible. But if you know that you have this problem and you want to deal with it, if you put it on your screensaver, if your screensaver on your computer is chill out in traffic, and that's it, and you encounter that screensaver 50 times a day, do you honestly believe that that's not going to move you in your mind? Do you really think it won't? Because it will. Of course it will. If you know that every time your kid leaves his shoes under the table in the dining room, it pisses you off. If you know that sets you off every time, man, he can't put his shoes in his room? What's the big deal? You can't put your shoes in, and it's always after the cleaning lady leaves. So the shoes, I wake up in the morning and there are the shoes, right? Oh my gosh, I'm going out of my mind. If you know that, and you put a little bracelet on your hand, not a red one, that's superstitious. You put a purple one, like purple. Put a purple one, and you like shoes. Every time you see the shoes, you're like, bro, it's shoes. It's shoes. These are the things that set you off. It's not putting the cap back on the toothpaste. That's what it is. It's not taking in the dry cleaning. It's setting you off. You know, can I tell you a secret? I want to tell you a story. This is a true story. I'm an oversharer. I had my psych evaluation. They told me this. They're like, you share way too much. And I said, I know. And now let me tell you something. So this goes back maybe 6 months ago. It's Friday, and I give a shiur on Shabbos in the shul. It's a great shiur. It's really, really exciting. It's a great shiur. I love that shiur. And I had to prepare for it. And in my mind, I'm thinking about all these things that I'm going to talk about. And I'm excited, you know, because I like this stuff. So I'm driving home on Friday. It's been a long week. Successful week, thank God. And I'm going home, and I'm thinking about all the things. When I get home, I'm going to go to my chair, and I'm going to sit down. I'm going to write these things down, you know. And on the way home, Yael calls me. She's like, I need you to go to Publix. I'm like, oh, good. I love going to Publix. Especially on Friday afternoon.
It's where shopping is a pleasure.
Yes, it is. And everyone is there for the same pleasure. But before you get to Publix, there's traffic. By the time I get to Publix, I don't even know who I am anymore. But I don't have a choice, because the person who told me to go to Publix is that person. So you go. So I get whatever she needs in Publix, and then I get a text. Kosher store. Oh, good. Oh, one more stop. So excited. And I go to the kosher store, and I want you to know, in my defense, it was yeshiva week. No human being can do. I get home, and I get to the door, and I'm carrying this stuff. It may have been heavy, but at least it was hot outside. And I get to the door, and I start coming in the door, and my kid's like, no, Daddy, can't come in yet. It's my house. Can't come in yet? Okay. Fine, stand out for another couple seconds. I'm in a really good mood right now. And they open up the door, and they say, Daddy, you see? Now, what did I see? Yael had got us, so in our dining room, I don't like dining room chairs. Because they don't move. And if you get to know me, I don't like to not move. I'm not good at, still. Not good at still. I'm good at move, not so good at still. So I like an office chair in my dining room, because, that works for me. Everyone got to do their Shabbat. So the chairs that we had were a catastrophe. They were like from 1850. Awful, beaten up, like just the worst. And, but, I can't just get any office chair. It's got to match. Okay. Yael had went out. She had ordered, and believe me, there was research done, yeah? White matching with the other chairs, white leather office chairs. So I walk in, and I see it, right? And I see the chairs. And immediately I'm thinking to myself, like, can that thing take my weight? And I'm really looking at it because, Shabbos. And I said, is there a warranty on that? Because I'm sure it wasn't cheap. I don't know what you paid, but I know it wasn't cheap. And I don't want to have to get another one in 2 months because you got it 40% off and it's garbage. And oh my God, stab me in the eye with a fork, right? So she's like, I'll look. I'm like, okay. And then I walk to my room to continue with my thought. And I sit down and I start downloading my thought. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm an awful person. I'm a terrible father. What a horrible person. What a terrible husband. I'm like, I can't believe that just happened. And I walk outside. I say, family meeting. All right. Everyone gets to the living room. So, I walk in the house. Like those chairs, the chairs that we had were bothering me for a year at least. Like every time it would squeak. You know the squeak. You know the squeak. I want a squeaky chair. I had a squeaky chair. Bothered me for a year. She did the research. She found beautiful chairs. She bought the chairs. She had the chairs delivered and assembled. I walked in the door, and you know what I saw? I saw a warranty on the chair. That's what I saw. You know why? Traffic! Publix, kosher store. That's why. That's why. And I said to the kids, I'm like, I'm so sorry, because what I should have said was, thank you so much. This is awesome. I love them. They look amazing. That's what I should have said. My mind skipped over all that and went, warranty. Why? Because my button got pushed. They pushed the button. The problem's not the problem. The problem's not what you said. The problem is why you said it. And the reason that you said it is because you were looking at something a certain way. And the reason you were looking at something a certain way is because the glasses you were wearing are the glasses that you wear when you get pushed by the button. So if you take 10 minutes and you think about it, amazing. Amazing. You change the whole thing. Now here's where it gets even better. So you get a little bit of awareness going. You get a little bit of awareness on these two little problems, whatever your two little problems are. Right, again, you get to choose. That's the best part. You get to choose. That awareness breeds another little magical thing because you're strengthening your awareness muscle. So as we said before, what percentage of the things that you do and know do you not know and do 100% right? All of it. All of it. How much of that are you aware of? Very little. And 100% of the things that you are not aware of don't bother you. Ever notice that? Once again, 100% of the things you're unaware of don't bother you. Yet. Yet they don't bother you. You haven't noticed yet. You will notice later. You will notice. It will bite you. So if we become aware, and all of a sudden you're a little bit more aware in one aspect, now your awareness muscle has been strengthened and you're going to start to become aware and more cognizant of all the tiny little micro actions that you do and all the interactions that you have. And every interaction that you have is all of a sudden a possibility for growth and change and movement and becoming greater in your block of time. Rosh Hashanah is tremendously exciting because, oh my God, I could be whoever I want. Like, what would the ideal me, if I had everything that I wanted and everything that I needed, what would the ideal me look like? Who gets to decide? I do. I do. Why did I stop changing at 20? Why have I stopped growing? I'm 37. I'm not that old. Why shouldn't I be growing? I should be. I should be. And the funny thing is, I don't think this is only adults. I think children are the same way. If you really have a conversation with your kid before Rosh Hashanah, like they can understand this. I don't mean 6-year-olds. That might be a little bit different, but certainly 16-year-olds can. Say to them, hey man, do you think that there's something that maybe you could work on? Maybe that bothers you about yourself? You can even say, is there something that bothers you about the way that I act with you? You say that to your kid too. Like, how is that a bad thing to say to your kid? I love you and I want what's best for you, and if there's something that I can be better at, I want you to tell me. Like, what kind of a relationship do you have with your kid if you talk like that? What kind of safety does the kid feel if they have to tell you something that they didn't like or that they did wrong? What kind of safety do they feel if you get vulnerable like that? Can't compare. So you're going to walk to shul on Rosh Hashanah out of guilt, and you're going to suffer for 5 hours, and that's going to give you a great year? No. Prepare. 10 minutes. Prepare. How do I want to change this year? B, go looking for inspiration. Go vulnerable. Go look if you say, I know that they're going to sing tunes that I'm not going to know, and they're going to be weird, and they're going to be long, and I might not like them. I'm going to bring a great book. I'm going to bring an amazing book that turns me on, that makes me excited about my life, about how I can get better. What, you don't want to listen to the rabbi's speech? By the way, I would say you should probably go to a shul that you like. If you're going to a shul that you don't like, you're already, like, you're setting yourself up for failure. Find a shul that you like. It can't be that hard. I mean, it's not the easiest thing in the world either, but like harder things have happened. Find the shul that you like. Do some preparation. Go to be inspired. If you go seeking it, you'll find it. Of course you will. Why are you doing all this magic food business? Dip the apple in the honey. It's just awareness. It's the same thing, right? You eat the magic pomegranate with the seeds. It's just focusing your brain on the concept. How do you know this is true? We said before, you eat a leek, right? You eat leeks. Why do you eat leeks? Because leek in Hebrew is karti. That's how you say it. It's called karti. And the word karet also means to be cut off. So you eat a leek and you say, shi kartu sonenu, that my enemy should be cut off. Because everybody knows if you eat the magic leek, Hezbollah blows up. The point is, you should be thinking about the fact that if you have enemies, yeah, well, guess what? Don't forget about them, because they're not forgetting about you. Don't forget about them. You want to talk about the fact that there are many, many, many different merits to be had? Well, if you don't talk about it and you don't think about it, then you'll never get any of those merits. They're not magic fruits. It's not magic. It's an awareness game. The whole thing's awareness game. I want to say one more thing. We talk about Zikaron on Rosh Hashanah. It's called Yom HaZikaron, the Day of Remembrance. What does that mean? What does that really mean? Memory is a funny thing. How many things did you do this year? Billions. You did many things this year. Okay. Well, how do I define you? By which actions do I define you? Because if you haven't noticed, sometimes you're good, and sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're nice, and sometimes you're mean. Sometimes you're patient, and sometimes you're not. So which one are you? That's the point of Zikaron. You did all those things, but which ones are going to be remembered? Which ones stay? Which ones stick? Which ones define? That's Yom HaZikaron. We have one mitzvah on Rosh Hashanah from the Torah. Well, you bring sacrifices, but you know what the mitzvah is? You blow the horn. Why do you blow the horn? I'll read for you what Rambam says. Can't have a share without reading the Rambam. Even though blowing the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, the Torah says blow it. Hey, Torah says blow. It's like me going to Publix, right? God said, so you go. Even though that's true, Remez Yeshbo, there's a hint. There's a hint in it. Klomar, it's saying, Uru Yeshenim Mishenaschem. Wake up! Wake up! What do you mean wake up? What is the shofar? Have you heard a shofar? The shofar sounds like one of two things. Either an air raid siren or a school bell. Because it's both. It's both. It's the bell of freedom and it's the bell of danger. It's both. It's a piercing sound. It's a piercing sound. And it has both of those meanings. Total opportunity for growth. Total freedom for any of the garbage that you want to leave behind and burn off as deadwood from last year. And it also signals tremendous danger. Because all of the garbage that keeps accumulating that you're not dealing with is eventually going to bite you. So he says it means wake up. Wake up. Chipsu b'ma'asechem. Look at your actions. Elu hashochim et ha'emet ba'avlei hazman. Says we're talking to people who forget the truth in the wishy-washiness of time. Remember, you're traveling through time. Because most of the time, you're not aware of that. Most of the time, you're just flowing. And he said, "V'shogim kol shnatam behevel varik asher lo ya'il v'lo yatzil." People waste all their time doing things that don't matter. They don't help and they don't save. Most of the things that we do as human beings don't matter all that much. Habitu l'nafshotechem. Look to your lives. Vehetivu darkechem. Fix your ways. Make them good. So you think, oh, he's very religious, right? He's like some rabbi, so he probably wants me to put up a bigger mezuzah and wrap my tefillin tighter, and that's not the point. Not the point. Not a religion, guys. Not a religion. You're not doing anything for God. God does not need you. No offense. He does not need... Oh, mighty God. Oh, I love it when they talk that way about me down there. Can you blow the horn again? I love when you blow that magic horn. It's not for him. It's for you. It's for you. All of the mitzvahs are for you. So that you can have the experiences that you need. So that you can change and grow to the best person that you can be. And don't do God any favors. So on Rosh Hashanah, I learned from David Lekach about a year ago. Say, Sprung, very nice year, lots of cool philosophy, but tachlis, man. Tachlis, he's a tachlis guy. It's good. It's good to have friends like that. Tell you tachlis, 10 minutes of thought, 10 minutes of thought about what you want to prepare for Rosh Hashanah and how you want to get inspired on Rosh Hashanah and how you want to change. And I don't mean stop smoking and lose 20 pounds. I mean your buttons. I mean the things that set you off, that make you make bad decisions. 10 minutes will lead you to discussions with your family about things that matter, about things that they care about things which are meaningful to them, and you will connect with them. And if you want to connect in shul, if you go to shul desirous of connection and not cynical, and I know this because I'm cynical. I'm cynical. And when I walk in and I hear the guy, you start chuckling. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Guard down. Guard down. I'm going to be inspired. I want to be inspired. I want to be excited. I want to be turned on by it. If we get excited, ourselves, not because the schools, not because the shuls, not because the families, because we decide, because we're looking for it and we're prepared for it. Have an amazing Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Peace and love. Oh, right, questions. I'm sorry, I forgot. Yes, questions. Yes, thank you. Questions if you got any. That was very clear, wasn't it? Perfectly self-evident. Have an amazing evening, guys. The after party's in South Beach. I'll see you at Live.